Hello there! What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Double Critical. This is episode number 6, the Return of the Jedi episode. We're going to be talking about Return of the Jedi. With me is Sean, Prehistoric Painting Abbott. How you doing, Sean?
Doing good, man. Another fun day. Interesting day.
Yeah, we're still sitting here recording during the global pandemic, which looks like things are getting a little more relaxed.
Yeah, I know. At least here in Florida, things are like today, tomorrow. I think or Monday. One of these days. I don't know what day it is. Mm-hmm. One of these days, things are supposed to be the soft reopening.
Yeah, it looks like in June, a lot of stuff is going to be opening. I think the parks, like Disney and Universal, are going to start doing some stuff like for local residents. Is what I'm hearing.
I can finally ride Rise of the Resistance without a line.
Oh no, there'll be crazy lines because everybody's going to go at first. Like, I'm glad I didn't get annual passes when I did now, because I'm like, oh man, I would have lost like 4 months of it, and then it all depends if you want to go.
Back on.
Well, they're supposed to tack that on, but then the day they open, they can start charging your time again, and I'm like, well, you might be afraid to go in the first week, and so that's like it just complicates that. Even though I remember I was the one who told you to go, because I'm like, we're going to get annual passes too, and then car accident happened and I couldn't afford to. All that crazy stuff. So 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 we've been having a good time. Kind of. It's been interesting. So what's been new with you?
I'm doing the same old painting. Right now I'm working on a bunch of Space Marines for 40K. Mm-hmm. I need to put out. I've been really slow on my videos on YouTube. It's been bad, but I have a complete Age of Sigmar army of the dinosaur guys, the Seraphon I play.
Okay.
I found a big picture of that. Oh, your neck thing came in.
Oh yeah, I was gonna put it on while we're talking.
Oh, sorry. I ruined the surprise because I haven't seen it. That's terrifying in some ways.
It looks weird being on over my headphones. But yeah.
But that's been new for me. What about you, man?
Well, you can't hear me now.
No,
No, but we've been doing. Let's see. I've been still making videos every day. The solo AI system is out for Legion.
Oh, nice.
Which makes 2 games. We got the solo AI system for Legion, which we had. The artwork was redone on it and was really cool thanks to the homebrew community.
It looks super legit, like it came from FFG.
Yeah, it looks really really good. And big thanks to Clever Clanker for that. We also have the Armada AI system. So I've done a little bit of battle reports with the AI systems, not as much. And we got new merch for Double Critical. So if as of we're recording this, and I don't know if Gen Con is going to happen or not still. And
you haven't heard anything yet. I think it's still up in the air, right?
They delayed their events registrations, and I'm like, okay, because they probably don't want people buying any more tickets. It certainly seems like they're going to cancel it, but maybe they're just waiting for insurance purposes. Maybe they need the state to force them to cancel it, right?
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because you want them to pull the trigger, not you. Like, hey guys, we had to do this, not hey, we're going to do this now.
Exactly, because if they have some kind of convention insurance, the convention will be like, wait, was it your choice to cancel, or did you have to? And so they're probably waiting for that if they can. But if it does happen, I'm sure face masks and everything will be mandatory. I mean, unless there's some kind of miracle cure between now and the end of July. But, so that's kind of why, we're doing a lot of this with... So these are kind of cool. These are gator necks, and they kind of wrap around your face. And the cool thing about these is you can also wear them in cold weather. We used to wear stuff like this. We had these. I had one of these in the army.
I did too. Yep.
Yeah. And they're double-sided, and only the Double Critical ones are double-sided. But on the inside, there's the C. So, and if you want my name on your face, you can do that, but it's just a little thing, but so I thought that would be fun for me. But I also have some new ones coming out. There's a Darth Vader one.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, and I have a new version of that one because the preview. So if you go to the the Teespring shop, you're gonna see that Darth Vader one, and they're supposed to show you a preview of it with it on somebody's face like this. But they have it turned totally sideways because they changed the I guess the file that I have to make to upload them, and so it's like sideways now. So I'm redoing that so it looks better, but I'm adding some new ones, and hopefully they get approved. So check out, stay tuned for updates for for some new merch, because I'm trying to do other familiar faces.
You know what you should do? The guy, Darth Malgus from the Old Republic, he had he had just the mask. Yeah, he had just that.
And you could kind of double that as the modified kind of battle damaged Darth Vader also.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see the face mask on the bottom. Might be a little trickier though. I'm going for more classic things. Like I have a Boba Fett one that should be showing up soon, which kind of doubles as just a generic Mandalorian one as well. I'm not sure how well that one's gonna work. I'm hoping it looks recognizable. And a Chewbacca one with growling teeth is the next planned one.
Be terrifying.
Yeah, so I'm working on those, which I think will be kind of fun, because I think we're gonna be wearing masks for a long time, and so having options.
Work. I have to wear one. So
yeah, we all do. I have to. They take our temperature before I go into the building.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I'm thinking, how helpful is that? Because if I have a fever, that means I've had it for 2 weeks. So, yeah. But, I think it's going to be okay. I think things are going to be okay over time. They're just not going to go back to exactly as they were.
Yeah, I don't think, but I think it returned to normalistic stuff is coming.
Yeah, the return return to normal is good, but so is the return of the Jedi. And that's what we're going to be doing today, because we're going to talk about, we're a Legion podcast, but also a Star Wars podcast. And so we're going to be talking about movies, because last time we did Rogue One, and these were all voted on Patreon as to what we should do first. And so I think after this one, I'm going to take some administrative liberties and kind of pick the direction that we go, because it was almost a tie between Return of the Jedi and Rogue One, with everything else being kind of a big drop-off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it might make a little bit more sense, instead of jumping around, it might make more sense to maybe work our way backwards from 6 back down to 1.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that would work. Yeah. That would work good.
And I'm administratively choosing not to do the sequel trilogy right now, because I don't think that's particularly helpful for Legion at this point in time.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with this, just with the content and all that. I agree.
And I'm not a sequel hater. I am not a sequel trilogy hater, although I will say, after 9, my overall opinion went down of the sequel trilogy. And it wasn't because 9 was that bad. Once it was complete and I had a total picture, after 8, I loved the sequel trilogy, because 8 had us asking a lot of questions, had a lot of setup, and after 9, I was just like, okay, we have the whole thing now, and I'm still kind of just left feeling like, okay, there wasn't enough time to really get to know these characters, and one of the things I think that helped that is with the original trilogy, you had more years in between each movie.
Yes, I think the fast pace of how the sequel trilogy went really hindered some of the I say believability in a space opera movie franchise, but in a sense, hey, how does this all happen within the span of a year?
I think big movie series for Star Wars moving forward need to either not be trilogies or need to have more time between them, so we can get a lot of narrative interim stuff, and also have more time. One of the biggest things that I think that hurt the sequel trilogy was episode 7 and 8 being within a day of each other.
Yes, that was I didn't realize that. It was weird to me. This. It's an interesting concept. Oh, hey, it's a direct sequel, but it's
and I mean that made sense, at least at the time. But when you were looking at it as an epic trilogy, it feels more like a 2-parter, and where the first part was just a 6-hour movie, and then the second part was hey, we need to wrap up 6 years worth of stuff in 2 hours. Yeah, and I'm like, it's too much in that movie,
and that's why things like The Mandalorian and Clone Wars are such good content for Star Wars, is because they had that time to tell these stories for you to get it. I mean, everyone hated Ahsoka in the beginning of Clone Wars, and then she is now a fan favorite.
Yeah, it takes time, and that's why I think we go back and we look at the prequel trilogy now, and I don't hate them like I maybe did when I was in my 20s. I look at them, and so many things have helped. The Clone Wars as a show has helped. Time as itself has helped. The prequel memes have really
have.
They have. And so it'll be interesting in maybe 15 years. We come back and look at the sequel trilogy. Hopefully, we'll have maybe some new takes on what happens during this trilogy. Maybe there'll be more stuff to consider. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to all of it. So I think it'll be fun.
More Star Wars is always good. Star Wars.
Yeah.
More Star Wars is always good. That's what I should say.
It's always a good. Even when it's bad Star Wars, it's a good problem. I'm happy to have that kind of problem. Even Star Wars Resistance, which I still haven't even watched all the episodes of that, but
I haven't even started, so I'm with.
it's not that great. But I'll eventually watch the rest of them. And the new thing with Dave Filoni and the behind the scenes stuff that's going on Disney Plus right now is supposed to be really good. So I'm planning on watching that. But here we're talking about Return of the Jedi.
And how would it affect units in Legion? Sorry, I had to rephrase that.
And so one of the things that we wanted to do was kind of rewatch these movies, and after watching these movies, kind of talk about them as like, hey, was there anything in this movie that, even though they've done a lot of stuff from Return of the
Jedi. They really have in the sense of like major military units. So there's ways we can work. There's some things they still need, but like they hit the big ones in that third act with the Endor and all that.
I think Return of the Jedi is the biggest single inspiration for Legion as a whole. If you look at the initial, like when they unveiled the game.
Okay.
When they unveiled, and to a lesser extent, the Battle of Hoth.
Yes.
Yeah. No, the Battle of Hoth is a major player, but I think it's like a 60-40 kind of thing. I think Return of the Jedi gets most of it. If you look at the core set, right? Who was all on Endor? You had Luke and Vader both on Endor. You had the speeder bikes. You had stormtroopers. You had all the rebel troopers. Almost everything in the core box is stuff straight from Endor.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and your tables.
Even the color schemes.
Yeah, exactly. Your tables were straight from Endor. A lot of the initial tables and the kind of the way they sold it was a lot based on an Endor.
Yeah, I remember watching those preview videos of them having on like the small square map with the Endor trees and bunker, and oh man, that looks so cool. It still is cool.
Absolutely, because the Battle of Endor, the big difference between the Battle of Endor and the Battle of Hoth is that Hoth is kind of built for a 10mm game.
Yeah.
Like, if X-Wing's scale had a ground game, it would be perfect for the Battle of Hoth. Because you had the biggest factor in the Battle of Hoth was the AT-ATs.
Yep.
You can't really do those quite so easily on Legion, at least not multiples, right? Maybe it may still happen at some point, but if you look at the Battle of Endor, I think that's a better depiction of how you'll see an AT-AT standing somewhere, parked and stationary. I think that's kind of how it will happen. So, the Battle of Endor is like this smaller, it's more troop-focused with the occasional big, heavy vehicle. The AT-ST was present at the Battle of Endor, but wasn't dominant. It wasn't in every scene. There was like basically one or two big scenes that feature them, and it's like that's Legion, really.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I think there's a lot of stuff that they have obviously already done from the game, in the game from this movie. But I was watching, and there's a couple of things, and I think the first thing I want to talk about is the Hutts.
Yeah, and it's the first part of the first act of the movie is all about Jabba the Hutt and his entourage, the skimmers.
I feel like I've always been against the scum and villainy faction because I didn't like the way it was originally done in X-Wing. I think there was some short-sightedness there, and that it's like because they already had Boba Fett for the Empire, and I thought that was like, oh, they screwed up, and then here in Legion they put Boba Fett in the Empire again. I'm like, what are you doing? And I feel like that's maybe a mistake. At a certain point we'll look back and say, man, and then they doubled down and put Bosk in the Empire too. Why are they? So I feel like, wait, to do a scum and villainy faction might be a problematic.
It might be, but they have. The Living Rules reference guide it's helpful, like to change things.
They can absolutely do that, and then they can always keep Boba Fett for casual play as an Imperial guy, but then for tournament stuff, hey, he's now scum and villainy, maybe. But I don't like scum and villainy specifically as the faction, but I am okay with something like that, like specific, because scum and villainy isn't a faction. That means everybody who's just. In other words, it's a generic term for like bad people, right? So
exactly.
How about the Hutts, the Hutt cartel as a faction?
or then there's like Black Sun and Crimson Dawn.
Those could all be individual sub-factions.
Yes.
No problem.
And there may be ways to integrate them. And I can see a way too, like where like you limit, like, hey, you can only have Hutts and the Pikes. You can't have Hutts, Pikes, and Black Sun because they don't all get along like that. It's like, hey, this is a temporary alliance. So like you don't have this overpowering. Oh, I have this multitude of units I can choose from. I can only pick from one or two, and that adds customizable to a player's perspective. Like, hey, I can make my guys a cute, unique alliance because of this reason.
Right. They may even, and really, we've talked about sub-factions a lot here, because on Double Critical we kind of speculate and talk about what does the future hold. So I love doing that, and I'm thinking to myself, like, so much it would be easier to predict if we knew how sub-factions were going to actually work.
Yeah, that's once that comes out, well, hopefully then we can really feed into it. But like, my biggest guess is that it will just be hey, you have to have this, like, a commander, these many core units to classify as a being able to use the sub-faction rules. And the sub-faction rules will have bonuses to them, so on and so forth.
And it also, one of the things I initially thought is that a sub-faction would just be within a parent faction. So, like, Gungans would all be part of Galactic Republic, but maybe you'd get a bonus if you ran all Gungans. And now that I think about it, I'm like, maybe not. Maybe they will be strictly their own thing. But what makes them a sub-faction is, for one, that they're smaller, but also maybe there's going to be crossover rules to allow some bleed over with certain conditions. In other words, like you were talking about the Pikes allying with the Hutts. I don't think we'll get the Pikes as their own sub-faction, though they may be small enough. I do think we'll get non-aligned units. But, a better example might be Crimson Dawn or Black Sun, right? Mm-hmm. Those are more likely to potentially be their own. And we don't know as much about Crimson Dawn right now, so I think Black Sun is probably the prime candidate. But the Hutts are probably the biggest candidate because we have the most Legion-esque units, and we get so many of them in this movie. But
like, I was just watching the movie. It's like, oh man, those sand skimmers would be really cool open transport kind of unit.
And the skiff scene?
Skiffs. I'm sorry. The skiffs. And like the Weequay pirates would be. I mean, you can even go into Hondo with that too, which is cool.
No, absolutely. And so there's so much for the Hutt faction. We can talk about the different units, but I would love it if sub-factions, if the Hutts were a sub-faction, that it says, like, in the rules of reference, it talks about these people can potentially include units from this unit or that unit. Like, they had something like that in Imperial Assault. There was like, hey, if you're scum, you can also include up to 2 Imperial units. Yeah,
there was. I remember it was the upgrade cards. It's like, hey, you can have these many points of this. Yeah.
So I expect maybe they'll consider that as something that sub-factions might do. And the restrictions of who you can include, well, that's where like a parent faction or friendly factions will be included. So like I could see that happening. And for those scum and villainy type sub-factions, they may have a lot more leniency with other scum and villainy. So maybe the Hutts, you can only get 1 rebel unit or 1 Imperial unit. But if you're doing like, if you're within the realm of scum and villainy, which includes Hutts, cartel, syndicate, etc., you can get 3. And that's a way to give them a different faction identity, is that they work better with each other, but not perfectly.
Yeah, and I can see like commanders having like entourage, so you can automatically get units. You can add these units to your army, kind of thing. And
an entourage could, or maybe a slightly different. Yeah, I could see. You ignore, maybe entourage could be edited to also ignore faction identity. Because
exactly. Yeah,
that's a great idea. That's a really great idea.
Hey, if I have Jabba, I know he can also take Weequay Guard, or he can also take a Twi'lek Negotiator or Twi'lek. Right. How do you pronounce it? Twi'lek or Twi'lek?
Twi'lek.
You pronounce Twi'lek?
Yeah.
I go between both. I'm like,
it's actually pronounced Twi'lek.
Twi'lek. Okay.
There's also a silent X at the end.
Oh.
But yeah, so the Hutts as a faction, and I wouldn't just be Jabba, because I think you could include other Hutts. And I think it'd be a shame to go so far as to make, a Hutt cartel and only include Jabba as the only Hutt, because you've got plenty of Hutts from the Clone Wars as well.
Yep. I mean, it sounds, you can even have sub-factions within sub-factions, because they had so many different, like, Hutt cartels that were like, hey, it's this guy and this guy, and they all did different things. It's actually pretty neat. I mean, I know like the Old Republic went into a lot. The The
There was infighting, but I think at a certain point, I don't know if they'll ever get into the weeds that much that we would need multiple HUD factions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you, but it'd be cool.
No, I could see that being a thing, but I think the Hutts is enough, and I think with the Mandalorian, there's so much room for scum and villainy to open up, and there's going to be so much more criminal enterprises besides just the Hutts that I think the Hutts is a good starting place for like neutral. Sub factions. So, what do we have here? Right? Obviously, we've got Jabba.
Yep.
But Gamorrean guards would be perfect.
Yep. Your bruiser melee units.
Yeah, and maybe and they probably have Guardian, right? Because that's like something.
What? And they have AI, or they have a version of AI. It's called like Stupefy or something like that.
Oh yeah,
they're supposed to be dumb.
They certainly could. I could see that being a very good thing. Bib Fortuna.
Yep, I could see him as like
he could be a cheaper commander.
Yep. Oh, okay, cheaper commander.
Yeah. And maybe teamwork.
Salacious Crumb could be a counterpart to Jabba.
Exactly. I wrote that down too. So we're obviously on the same train with music here. There's a lot of other races that were introduced in Jabba's palace, like the Klaatu, the Nikto, and the Barata. Which weird thing here. And I only know their names because I used to have the action figures, and I had this C-3PO like collector's case that had all the stuff from Return of the Jedi, and it had names underneath all of them. So I would learn all the characters' names because they didn't say characters' names in the stuff. But some of those characters, like the Klaatuinians, were named after Klaatu, who was one of the people on one of the skiff guards. And so it's funny, like initially, like they just like, hey, you know what? Like if you were on there, you would be named Human, and that would be your first name is Human. Hi, Human. Nice to meet you. And then everybody else that ever shows up is going to be named after you. And that's actually the race now. So it's kind of funny how that naturally evolved.
Oh yeah, I think I think they still continue that to this day because like in Solo, one of the characters is called Therm Scissor Punch, and that's all they have is he's not like there's no like race name for him. He's just Therm Scissor Punch. Yeah. He's like the lobster guy.
Well, so that means like the rest of his race is going to be called like the Thermians. Yeah. The Thermoses, right? But there's a lot of those races, and a lot of races that we've seen, more like Ryis and all of those like Hondos, all of those pieces. We see all of those. So there's opportunities for lots and lots of core and even special forces. Of course, we got bounty hunters galore.
Yeah, they can dive into dive into not EU a little bit of the EU, like the Nikto had like the Nikto Jedi hunters. That was an actual thing, and there's ways to work around it, like where you can make some really cool units to fit Legion rules.
Absolutely, and the Mandalorian easily improves upon that tremendously.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, and we're not talking specifically about the Mandalorian, but yes, that it's gonna broaden all of that.
The scum and villainy. Like, I didn't realize the Bounty Hunters Association was like this. It's like a big union kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that makes this more likely too is that with the Mandalorian's success, it's making like FFG isn't going to make something that they're less likely to make something that only the hardcore fans know.
You're right. That doesn't sell.
So they want stuff that's recognizable, and so one of the things they're gonna hold on a second. What is going on here? All right, that's better. So yeah, they're less likely to make the stuff that's more obscure. So Mandalorian bringing all of this scum and villainy stuff into the limelight means, hey, it's a safe bet to do Hutt cartels now.
Absolutely, it's. You bring the big ones in, then hey, follow up with the little stuff. Well, in some ways, you can add just the cards too, because that's one thing I liked about X-Wing was that you have a recognizable fighter unit, but then the fighter pilot itself was hey, that Corran Horn. No one knows Corran Horn. Besides when he was huge in the EU, but he's a big X-Wing pilot. That's because his really good abilities. But he was huge in the EU. He was so. Yeah,
and I say I didn't read all of the EU books, so the X-Wing books specifically, I didn't really.
Yeah, he was the main character for those.
So there you go. Yeah, and I guess that's that's one of the things we miss out on. But yeah, the skiffs are actually I think perfectly sized for Legion. Not the sail barge. The sail barge is probably too big. That would make a good map.
A good set piece. Yeah, it would.
It would make a really good map because I could see that taking up 3 feet. But yeah, and there's also a lot of a lot of monsters, a lot of creatures.
Oh yeah,
Like,
the Rancor.
the Rancor is the biggest, most. I've wanted a Rancor in this game since day one. So I think it's a great opportunity to bring in a Rancor and a Rancor handler, and of course have some kind of counterpart or some kind of rule set that if the handler dies, then the Rancor can potentially go berserk or something like that.
If the Rancor dies, the guy just like he gets stunned for 2 rounds because he's crying the whole time.
Or maybe he becomes enraged because he wants vengeance. Yeah.
He was stubborn.
he was sobbing. But yeah, so I like that idea. I mean, you've also got the Sarlacc. Maybe you could work something like that out of static, as something that doesn't move.
Yeah, that'd be a cool. Again, a dangerous terrain piece, like one that you have to work. Either you work around, or like force. You can like force push or force move someone into the Sarlacc. Would be great.
Maybe like there's a faction that comes with their own terrain that they get to place. And that would be maybe something that the Hutts could do. They could put a Sarlacc. I mean, you at a certain point, you're getting a little bit too much into a specific movie, right? It's like if you're playing Hutts, you have to follow the plot of Return of the Jedi exactly. I'm like, maybe not.
That's fair.
But it still would be cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the thing with the skiffs is I was really kind of thinking about because I play all the other. I play 40K and all that, and one of the factions is called Dark Eldar, and they have like these raider boats that they go off and they shoot off of. Mm-hmm. And I think the skiffs would be perfect to have an open transport rule, but one where you can shoot from. Like so, you have a unit inside that can shoot outside.
So and if you kill the gunner, well maybe it's an open transport, but maybe it's
it doesn't.
Maybe you can board an enemy craft. Maybe maybe that needs to be a new mechanic because they're so open. They have the keyword boardable, and it does allow somebody else to potentially with the jump keyword to be able to board it and then do battle. Like and then you have a sideboard where there's like a combat. Like wouldn't that be awesome?
It's a risk you have to take. Like, oh man, I have this great fight, like this great support craft I can fire people from, I can move them around. But oh man, Boba Fett jumped on and annihilated them all, and now he controls the skimmer. Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, but vehicles that actually require pilots, like physical pilots that are minis that are on the thing that snipers can shoot, but they're immune to melee unless the person has jump.
Yeah. Oh,
that would be so cool. Awesome.
It would make for it's a very high risk but high reward scenario.
You're leaning heavily into the realism on that one, and sometimes that's awesome, but other times it can overcomplicate the game, and that's one of the risks you take. Is like, well, for a new player coming in now, is that going to be a little bit too abstract? How come I can snipe the guy on that vehicle, but I can't snipe the guy sticking out of the a Republic tank, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe, so I can see that, but I would like that for that specific unit because that's exactly how it worked in the movie.
Yeah,
it'd be thematic and it'd be a whole new mechanic. So, and it wouldn't have to be the only one that does that. There's Imperial transports that are skiffs that do that also.
I mean, that's kind of what I hope for with the Rebel Speeder. Like, if you put someone in, you can shoot out of it. I mean, in some ways they have that, but like, it only seats one person, so.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I think they've done enough of that with the land speeder already to kind of. I don't think they'll revisit that, but for future things, I could see them doing that. Okay, I think there's other characters that we can also want. Like, I really want Leia as an operative Leia, but in her Bouche disguise. So, and you'd still call it Leia, but the subtext would be Bouche, so you're not running Bouche and Leia.
Yeah,
and there could be some divulge cards. You could just bring her in, like it's known, or you could bring her in. But she'd obviously have some kind of incognito.
Yeah.
Right. And you could even have her with like a bounty with a prisoner.
Would you target specifically, so incognito scum and villainy, or like incognito Hutts? Because like it's incognito Imperial, right?
I wouldn't want to start doing that because the idea is you can. Thematically, you can come up with a reason that she's incognito against anybody. Like, hey, Count Dooku, I've got that prisoner that you wanted. Like I'm not involved in your war. I am doing a job. I'm doing a job for your leader. Yeah.
I you know what? You sold me.
Okay. So, but here's the thing. I came up with some command card ideas, or at least names, not specifically. Kind of. So, fearless and inventive. Sounds like a great name for a command card for Bouche Leia. because
Yep.
he says that Jabba says that this bounty hunter's my kind of scum. And it's right after she says 50,000, no less. And then when she shows the thermal detonator, so like that could be another one. Because we don't have we have grenades, but we don't have thermal detonators yet, and those are way more nasty than a grenade.
Oh my, yeah. There's every different appearance, but they're a big boom.
Yes, and so there's like if you're gonna bring in thermal detonators, this is the movie that says, hey, let's bring in thermal detonators.
Yep.
But they're too strong to be a grenade slot on a unit.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the two ways I think you do it is the exhaust or the card that is a one-time use that like flips over. Mm-hmm. But so far it seems like those may only be from the supply deck. So the command card is a perfect way to make sure you can do it only once, or hopefully only do it only once. And so a thermal detonator could be nasty. It might even kill you. You put a dead man switch on there, and like when you play that card, right? Like you can either throw it or if it kills you, then it goes off too. So a dead man switch would be a really cool ability.
It would, because like then like are you gonna be the Jabba that calls the bluff? Are you gonna like oh wait no?
Are you going to actually kill? Are you going to kill Leia? Because at the end of the round, I hope you have enough actions left over to get away, because she's going to kill everything within range 3. That might be much. Maybe range 2.
Oh, I was gonna say range 2, like a big boom. I can see
5 red dice on with surge to crit on and blast everything in range 2.
Yeah,
like that would be amazing, right? Like again, these are just really off the cuff ideas.
But it'd be fun. I mean, it's. Yeah. Do you call the bluff or you don't? Like, it's the risk you take.
Yeah, and let's say there's a way you can potentially, you might even need a way, like if you're in melee, you can potentially disarm it, or something like that. But that would be cool. And then it was another one I had for her. We have powerful friends, right? Like when she gets caught or whatever and unmasked, she's like, oh crap, I've been caught. We have powerful friends, like when she's like that might be. Like I don't have the specifics, but that could be a way to call in somebody else, or maybe teleport somebody. Like if you're running double commander, if you have Luke and Leia, you can maybe teleport Luke to her location.
Give someone a free move. Give them when issued an order, give unit a speed X move or something. Or
maybe it's if she's attacked, you can then respond by calling in your heavy hitters, and it could be any other unit gets a free speed 3 move. Yeah. Boom.
I like it's going with that bluff calling. I like that.
Yeah, like that would be really fun. And similar to like Leia in disguise, you got Lando in disguise.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he didn't do as much.
He didn't.
He didn't do very much at all. He was really there just to fall off and get rescued by Han.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he called out Boba. He's like, "Oh, there's Boba," or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's it. Like. I love Lando, but like he did not do much in the first act of Return of the Jedi, other than just need to be saved. He was the damsel in distress.
He's a beautiful damsel in distress at that.
Out of all the versions of Lando we could get, this is the one I think we don't really need right now. And this one maybe could just be a command card, because I would rather jump to later in the film and get General Calrissian.
Yeah. And
maybe there's a command card that has him go undercover for 1 round.
Yeah,
and then you can play that, and that would be because if Lando is a card player, actually, and as a matter of fact, that could be original Empire Strikes Back Bespin Lando Calrissian, because if you've seen Solo, you know that Lando has always had that skiff guard disguise.
Oh, that's right.
He's always had it, so that doesn't.
He's always worn like the cape and it's just the helmet, right? He doesn't like body armor or anything like that.
He wore that in Solo when they went to infiltrate into the Kessel and stuff. Or, or I think I'll have to watch Solo.
It was Kessel.
Yeah, but did Han wear it or did Lando wear it? I don't know. I think like Han borrowed it or something. But
it's been a bit.
Yeah, my point is, he's always had that, so that could just be a command card. I don't think you actually have to do a sculpt of Lando in the skiff guard disguise.
It's a good way for 3D printers to get on.
Yeah, and you can totally do that for fun, but I think that's something that you just do as a command card, because I'd rather have General Calrissian.
Oh yes,
as the commander, and that means you're a regular Lando, the blue, the original Episode 5 Lando needs to be an operative.
Oh yeah, he's definitely gonna be.
Yeah. That makes the most sense, and then this way you can have General as the commander, and then we're good to go there. There's another version of Leia we get from Jabba's palace that I don't expect them to actually do in Legion, and that's Slave Leia. in the bikini. I just
I see. I know there's gonna be plenty of 3D prints of that out there, but I don't see a official product line for that in a battle game.
no. I do imagine it could show up on a piece of card art, whether it's
Oh yeah. Oh, like where her choking Jabba out.
possibly
That could be
it could be.
command card. Yeah.
But I think more likely if they do a Jabba the Hutt commander, like the stuff he says to Leia is like, "You will grow to appreciate me," right? Like that could have her in the bikini,
Yeah.
because he's telling her that, and she's like repulsed by him, but he's doing a power play. So that's more of a Jabba the Hutt power play rather than a let's glorify Leia. It's more like, hey, look what Jabba could do to the people he enslaved. So I think that's better, and I don't really, It's the white knight in me. It's like, we don't need to see Leia like that. Well, but it's not really just that. It's that her as a slave right there, she's not really demonstrating what Legion is all about.
Exactly. It's not we're going for the battle, and that's not part of the. I mean, she played a role in that. Like once, like said, she did choke him out.
She did kill Jabba, but I still don't think Leia's not gonna march into battle wearing a bikini.
No,
nobody's gonna do that except for maybe Aayla Secura. Except maybe her. Except maybe Aayla Secura.
And we're all cool with that.
I you know what? I'm gonna place my objections on hold. All right. Okay. So another thing I noticed when I was watching Return of the Jedi just recently, it's funny how Jedi sensibilities have changed over time, and it stands to reason that I don't think Lucas had quite the robust plan from day one, but. No. Originally Return of the Jedi was called Revenge of the Jedi.
Yes.
And you get a lot of that when you watch the movie because
Force chokes.
Yeah, like Luke used Force choke, right? And he's using dark side. He is if this were the role playing game, Luke would have a lot of conflict. He would be down to like 30 morality. He would be borderline dark side right now. First off, he's wearing black, right? He's Force choking Gamorreans.
Yeah.
Good for you, Luke, by the way. And I actually, technically, Jedi Luke can't take Force choke in the game right now.
Oh, he can't? No.
He can't, yeah. And so I think that that's something that maybe we should look into.
Yeah.
I would not mind seeing possibilities, especially with Anakin. Rumors are that Anakin and Maul are like the next characters that are going to get announced or whatever. Yeah. Those are more speculation at this point because I haven't seen anything super concrete on that. And also, a wave is always more than just 2. Usually, waves are like 6 or 8 expansions. So I'm like, all right, well, if that's not the whole wave, so
there's gonna be way more.
Yeah, but I do expect there to be waves for light side characters to take dark side upgrades. So, and maybe Anakin will introduce that possibility because that would make sense. But Luke also once he gets in front of Jabba, he's got some hubris. He's pretty arrogant. Yeah, don't underestimate my power. I'm like, oh, you dark side. Like, Luke is a straight-up villain in this movie from a certain point of view. From a certain point of view. But then, when Jabba's like, no, I'm not interested in bargaining. I'm, like straight up, there's going to be some YouTubers like, Luke is the villain in Episode 6. Jabba's got his own property. He's got his own house. He's not harming anybody. Luke...
Mind his own business.
Luke breaks into his palace... Force chokes his guards, mind tricks his major domo, and then threatens, brags and then threatens Jabba. And then when Jabba says no thank you, he pulls a gun on him.
Yeah, and all over a smuggler who owed Jabba money.
Yeah, Han Solo was in the wrong. And we also know that Han Solo had multiple opportunities to pay back Jabba. And Jabba didn't even kill Han. Jabba just has him on ice right now. He's in jail.
Not even dead.
And the cool thing about it's actually one of the most humane forms of jail because he's not going to age. He's frozen in time. He's in hibernation. So he's not even going to know what happened. He's just like, it's like 1 second, boom. Like, hey, close your eyes, open your eyes. Okay, it's been 5 years. You're free. Like, what happened? Oh, nothing. Your friends are a little older now. But by the way, that money you had in the bank has gained a lot of interest. So, who knows?
You paid the debt.
Yeah. My point is, it was actually kind of humane. Jabba wasn't really all being that terrible at that point. So,
and then he killed his dog. Basically, then Luke killed Jabba's dog, the Rancor.
Well, I mean, at a certain Jabba didn't send Luke down into the Rancor until Luke tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Sending Luke down to the Rancor was a self-defense mechanism for Jabba.
Stand your
Wow,
ground.
I'm becoming a Hutt sympathizer, and I didn't start the podcast this way.
This
This
was
is
not-
happening. Yeah.
This is Jabba did nothing wrong.
Jabba did nothing wrong.
Hashtag or whatever the kids say now.
And now look. All right. So what about Leia? What about Leia? Right? Did Jabba do anything wrong to Leia? Like he put her into slavery? Certainly, that's bad, right? But
Yeah,
no,
that's okay. Yeah.
First off, she also broke into his house, infiltrated under false pretenses.
Yep.
Then tried to
And
steal
grenade.
him.
Yeah.
And and she threatened to kill not just him, but everyone there.
Even the band.
And
the innocent
extorted
band.
him. And extorted him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, you know what? I'm not going to kill you. He spared her life, provided her some new clothes, and a new hairstyle.
All right. So I will say Jabba did feed the one lady to the Rancor. That was kind of bad.
Okay. We don't know what she did off camera, though. She might have tried to free Han Solo. She might have been Luke's first, hey,
First attempt.
before we send Lando and Leia and, hey, guys, so I have a plan. The Force has guided me. Ula, you're our newest recruit. I want you to infiltrate Jabba's palace. Like, we don't know what happened there, right? So, okay, so all right, Jabba's no saint, but still a pretty far cry from being the,
From the villain.
slimy piece of worm-ridden filth, As a matter of fact, once he sentences them all to death out in the pit of Carkoon, before they pushed in, he also gives them another opportunity to beg for mercy. Like, he is merciful until the end, and then, in spite of that, Han insults him. Luke threatens his life again. Free us or die. And he's like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're going to clown me in front of everybody. Oh, Luke was a real bad dude.
He was.
In
Yeah.
this from us. If the audience, like, if you didn't know, like, I want to see a trailer for Return of the Jedi rethemed as Jabba as the good guy. A sweet little Hutt that nobody liked because they said he was ugly, but he defied the odds and built his own castle, only for this man in black to break in and kill his dog. So I don't know, man. All right, another thing I want to see.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. Another thing I want to see, and this one's even funnier. This is where we're gonna cross into Crazy Land.
Okay.
But I wanted to. It's the question: could we see it? Musicians. This is
Max Rebo and the band.
Max Rebo, but you also have musicians in Episode 4. Biff. Who is the band from Episode 4? Because they're in a lot of the books.
They're Biff. That's all I know.
They are Biff. And it's gonna. I know this because I've read at least 2 different books where they were talked about, and one of them was the book from a certain point of view, and they did this whole chapter on this.
Oh my God! Yeah, I forgot about that book.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, Biff band from New
doing it.
Hope. I'm doing it.
Do it first.
The Modal Nodes, Figrin Dan and the Modal Nodes. That's who it. Yeah.
Wait, Fingering Dan?
Figrin, not fingering. No, Figrin, like a fig, like Fig Newton, and then R-I-N.
Figrin Dan.
Figrin Dan. And
That's a pretty rock star name for Star Wars. Fingering Dan. Fingering Dan, the Steely Eagles.
No, but here's a reason why I would like to see them. Not that I think I want to turn Legion into a game of like playing music and stuff like that. I could see maybe getting models.
100 points for like playing a guitar in the background.
Well, they could be some type of like maybe civilians becomes like a unit type that you could field at some point. In the same way that like you put R2-D2 on the map. He's not a warrior, but he's got a secret mission. He serves an objective purpose. Musicians could be civilians that maybe your opponent is incentivized to spare because they're inconspicuous or something like that. They could be really cheap. Maybe they have no combat value, but all they do is go around and do objectives, right? And maybe maybe they do some type of functionality.
I could see support, like, hey, you can rally, you can double your rally score, or like you can use 2 extra white dice for
the bard marching into battle, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe something like that could potentially happen. It's still a far-fetched thing because especially in Jabba's band,
they're stationary for the most part.
They are stationary. You've got Max Rebo with that huge round piano. And all of the other ones, so like I get that, but here's the reason that I also really want to see them is they're very recognizable. Max Rebo is iconic. The girl that was also in Clone Wars, what you doing, sugar? That's how she talks, right?
Yep, I remember that.
And then they give her that god awful CGI in the special edition.
Oh, I was actually going to mention this. Oh God.
Yeah. Oh man. It's like I don't even know what she's singing, man. It's like it's all about poo poo and pee pee and stuff.
Oh man. So again, because they're so recognizable. I definitely actually I see where you're going with it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You want iconic, recognizable things on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Bith also, the Bith band would be really fun to paint.
Yeah.
Now, granted, maybe this is just something that the third-party aftermarket stuff can do.
I think that's where
that may be the best place for it. And maybe they can also serve as alternate hostage models.
Exactly.
Maybe that's a great opportunity. But it is still Star Wars, and I wouldn't object if they found a very clever way to put them in.
I could see a terrain they did the bunker from it. We're talking Endor. We're talking about Return of the Jedi, but the bunker from Endor.
Right.
You have the bar from Mos Eisley. You have Jabba's Hutt's palace as a big set piece, and you have in the corner.
Exactly. But what if instead of FFG creating neutral expansions that are all terrain, what if some of these neutral expansions had civilians and you place them in the same way that you place terrain? And so now they're a neutral obstacle that both players, like maybe we're both trying to avoid civilian casualties.
That would be pretty neat. Yeah.
Boom! And they're playing music, so maybe they distract everybody that's going on near them. So you can, like, hey, anybody who shoots within range 2 of a musician has to turn 1 hit to a blank. Or you can kill the musicians and then not have to worry about it. But if you kill the musicians, your opponent gets a victory point.
Oh, I was going to say something so negative. That'd be actually really cool.
There you go. Like that makes a little more sense than you fielding a musician. But hey, there you go. So that could be a thing, or it could be a cool homebrew scenario.
Bagpipes.
Yeah, but then again, who places the musicians? Right? You'd almost need a static mat. A static map.
Yeah, that's where I think you would have to. FFG does their the mission, the scenario setup cards with the bunker. Hey, it's in the middle kind of thing. It's the same thing. Hey, it's in the middle and the band is at this spot. Yeah,
that's a good idea. Or there's a minefield and you got a band and you got to make sure you don't detonate the mines because the mines could also kill the band. And
oh man.
All right, let's see what else do we have. There's plenty more to talk about.
So for the first act, with the Jabbas,
most of Return of the Jedi's Legion presence lies in the first act. There's a few other things, like I talked about General Calrissian.
Yep. But we talked about him in another episode.
We have. Right? There's also Crix Madine and the Rebel generals that we see in the middle of the movie and on board the Home One, and they're doing the briefing. A lot of those characters. Same thing with Mon Mothma. And a lot of these other Rebel commanders, they have a place. Although I think people like Crix Madine have a better place on the battlefield, on a ground game battlefield. Yeah. As much as I'd love Mon Calamari and Admiral Akbar, he is an admiral.
He's a space, And same thing with Radis. He's so cool, but he's definitely a space kind of guy.
He is a space kind of guy. You can still look. Veers wasn't on the ground. He was on. He was 50 feet above the ground in an AT-AT, but he still has a place on the ground. So maybe there's a way to do it. Maybe there's a way.
All right, so I'm gonna throw an idea. I just thought of this for Mon Mothma. She's a rebel commander, relatively cheap because she does almost absolutely nothing. But if she survives to the end of the game, gain a victory point because inspirational orator or something like that, it's building support for the rebellion. So it's a target. It's like reverse bounty. Hey, if you kill, you don't get any points. The opponent won't get any points for.
Yeah. High value. You call her high value target.
Exactly, a high value target. Thank you. It's a military term for it. Yeah, she's a high value target. So you have to dedicate forces to guard her, and then the Imperial has to dedicate forces to hunt her. It could be then they double the bounty. Like, oh man, I took out Mon Mothma. I got basically it's a two for one kind of deal.
It'd have to be a double-edged sword though. So if they do kill her, then they get a victory point too. So it's like, do we really want to take? But you'd have to make. So I'd give her no combat value.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Maybe I might go so far as to say no defense dice at all.
No,
that's a tricky thing because she's only wearing robes. She doesn't even have like a jacket on. So you'd be relying on suppression and cover
and guardian
to help her stay alive.
You're right. You know what? She doesn't have any defense die, but she does. Any unit within range 1 has guardian 2 or something like that, or
maybe.
Yeah.
And so that would be really interesting. But you'd have to give her some cool command cards. This is the Emperor's. The time of our attack is at hand, and so you take the things she said. She's got killer dialogue.
Oh yeah,
many Bothans died to bring us this information. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I like that idea. That's a good idea.
It's because you don't. A lot of times, what you don't see is you don't see the support characters that. It sounds dumb because if they don't do anything, they're not exciting. But in some ways, that can add excitement to the game. Like, hey, I'm throwing this piece out here. You either risk ignoring it and giving me a victory point, or and then I have to dedicate a whole. And then you can add painting hobby wise. Oh, I painted these guys up to be Mon Mothma's guard. From where is she from?
Yeah, it's
Chandrilla.
Chandrilla, thank you.
Yeah,
that's where all
the
nice.
It's like the hippie. I think Chandrilla's like the hippie planet.
She's a hippie, yeah. But except she cut her hair though, so that's why she was elected senator because wow, you got a haircut. You're the best of us. You're the best of us. No, so another thing happens in the later acts as applies to ground forces, and I'm going to talk about Yoda because Luke goes back to Dagobah.
Okay, yeah.
This is a far-fetched idea, but I just wanted to think. Yoda dies on his own. Kind of like how Luke does in Episode 8, right? Yeah. He's just like, you know what? It's time for me to become one with the Force. Yeah. We see Obi-Wan kind of do this also a little bit. He kind of suicides in Episode 4, kind of, right?
Yeah,
he doesn't dodge Vader's attack, so I
didn't even think of it like that.
He dies on purpose.
Yes.
What if that becomes a way for either Jedi or Force users in general to be able to do Kanan also to make a noble sacrifice, and you can
then attach it. Oh, okay. So I think I know where you're going.
Here's where I'm going, and I don't have this idea fully fleshed out. But what if there was some kind of command card you could play, and I might make it even a neutral command card, but I'd make it a 4 pip that counts as a 3 pip for command building. So it means you go last in priority, but if at the end of the round if you have a Force user with 1 health remaining, you can remove them from the game or remove them from the battlefield and gain a victory point. Something like that. So basically, like if my Luke is almost dead, but I can manage to escape, he's like, I made it out. You can do something.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I actually thought of another idea. The same thing. Like it's from 1 health or 0. So if the hero dies, and then you give a token or something to another unit as a Force Ghost is guiding them.
Oh, okay. That might. All right. Maybe that's something that happens on a future turn. Then.
Yeah.
Oh, that could get a little complicated.
Died to guide later is what I was. It's kind of going okay, they died and then they came back to they have the Force Ghost thing.
I like the idea. Yeah, and even if that's not. I like the idea of Force Ghosts, even if it doesn't happen because of something like that. I wouldn't mind an Obi-Wan Force Ghost option somehow, whether it's a miniature or just an effect from maybe a condition. Oh, you're in the Force Ghost graveyard, and Force Ghosts are just going to show up and just give random people instruction.
Random advice.
Random spooky advice. We're fighting in a cemetery of fallen lightsabers all over the place. What was the planet? Korriban? Or
Moraband. Moraband, but it's Korriban is
the way they went to in Rebels.
Yes, the Sith. Yeah, the Sith planet. Yes,
that would be so cool, right? Force Ghosts.
The Sith ghosts are much more malevolent too. Just imagine Obi-Wan yelling from the crypt, "Take the high ground! Take the high ground!"
Oh man, so that would be fun.
So the mechanic, hey, you died, but you can still help another unit out for X amount of rounds or something like that. Like
maybe you can give them, or you can give like somebody just a green token of your choice. Like something. I don't want to make it too powerful, but I'd start with maybe you give them one green token and then see should it be more than that. Maybe you get two green tokens.
Well, what about this? A blue token, a force token that you use it and it comes back at the end of the it's like a reusable dot.
Kind of like how the force works in X-wing that way now.
You know what? Maybe like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be used for an offense or a defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are all pretty cool ideas. I don't know. Or that could just be a force upgrade too. That could be a force upgrade you put on your character. So after they die, they become one with the force. So like this does nothing when they're alive. But when they die, they can come back and help somebody else.
Exactly. So like I like it because it means you're losing a big unit, but you still get that unit doesn't eliminate your effectiveness for the rest of the game.
Yeah, they did something like that in Destiny also, where there was an upgrade you can put on a character that like if they died, they came back, and it was really strong too. So I
remember that. I think I remember that.
Yeah, it was a little too strong. It was like, oh, I don't want to kill him now. But
I guess it's like you're like, hey, do I really finish off this Luke, or do I let him run around this area?
Well, Obi-Wan did say I'd become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. I'm like, all right, so now he's a 12 health, 12 red die, range 5, surge to crit, pierce 10, Yeah, no,
ballistic force missile of doom.
Darth Vader's like, oh my gosh, what have I done? No. Another thing I want to talk about is the ability to steal enemy units.
Ooh,
that's something I've always seen on film.
Yes,
always seen that on film throughout all of Star Wars. Somebody's always hijacking, commandeering, spying. B-1 battle droids stolen by the Republic in the Clone Wars. BX droids infiltrating with clone helmets on in Clone Wars. Rebels stealing the shuttle Tidarium. Rebels stealing speeder bikes. Rebels stealing an ATST.
Dressing up as scout troopers.
Yes, it happens all the time. Can we have some type of commandeer function in Legion? Whereas, one... you can steal, and maybe it has to take the place of a command card, and it's a divulge, so like there's an extra opportunity cost, and maybe it costs,
It has. See, here's the thing. Here's what I worry is with something like that, is then that could eliminate. Oh well, I don't want them to steal this, so I won't play it at all.
No, I'm not saying that you steal it in the game. I'm saying during list building.
Oh,
I'm a rebel. I'm playing an ATST. And there's to have stolen this ATST, there's gonna be some setbacks. For one, maybe I can put no upgrades on it, so I don't get to put any extra hard points on the ATST because it's a stolen ATST. And for maybe two, maybe it costs extra points or something like that. But something like that. I would love the option to be able to do that. I think that'd be really fun.
I absolutely love it. The only idea is I'm thinking gameplay wise. One of the things that every game seems to do is you strive for that identity as a faction. Mm-hmm. And if you start transferring I can grab Imperial unit stuff or I can grab Rebel stuff,
right?
You might lose the identity. It's the only thing.
You certainly might. And so I think to do it, you have to put some heavy limits on it. One is
what could Imperials do? Because you get to say, hey, Imperials manufacture the ATRT. This is the real ATRT versus the Rebel souped up ATRT.
Well, here's the thing. I think I like the idea of tying it to a command card that you must divulge on the first round.
Okay, gotcha.
And then you make the rest of the command card kind of lousy. And it might not even be just a 3-pip. You might make it a 2 or a 1-pip. So you're sacrificing a potentially strong command card. You're sacrificing a strong command card to get this unit. And then on top of that, the unit can take no upgrades. Because most of the units that have a faction identity associated with them, part of what makes them strong is the upgrades that you can give. Like an ATST with no hard points and no upgrades whatsoever is not that great.
Right. The pilot makes the difference. The mortar makes the difference.
Now, a snow speeder may be the only one that's actually good, that can still be really good with no upgrades.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing.
I think, and the tank too. The Gout. What's it called?
The Imperial tank, the one with the transport.
Yeah, what's it?
Oh yeah, the TX, the Gav.
Yeah, the Gav. Thank you. I'm like the TX5G.
Yeah, well, because there's two versions of it. Because there's one that has tread, and then there's one that's actually hover. And there's a funny story about that. It's that it was changed halfway through when they did some of the edits to Rogue One. They changed the tank from a hover to a ground tank.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, and that's why there's footage there's shots and photos of both versions. And so to retcon or to basically explain it away, as opposed to it's like, hey, dude, it was reshoots. They said, all right, you know what? There's going to be two. There's actually the Gav W or the Gav, like there's a ground track version and then there's a ground hover version. So
the tracks are always cooler too.
The track is more realistic to what we have experienced, you know.
Yeah.
But hover is a little bit more Star Warsy, right?
That's all fitting.
Yeah. But anyway, like it would need some tweaking to come out with a balanced way to be able to steal stuff, and maybe only certain factions can do it. The Rebels are most known for doing it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like the Rebels have this, they have a reason for it, and like it's And oh man, the thing, like I've already seen this too. Is like people paying like Sabine, rebel birds on like ATSTs, things like that.
Maybe there's a specific commander that's one of their command cards, and that's or maybe it's just a generic rebel one pip, a generic rebel one pip, and
I like the idea of tying to a high price command card. That's a good idea.
And now all of a sudden, if you want to do that, so it would be something only the rebels could do at that point.
Yeah,
it might be fun. But again, there's lots of ways to do it. You could also increase the point cost of taking said unit, so that also discourages you from doing it. And you'd only get one. So like, what's some of the worst things? Like those vehicles. I would think Death Troopers. Oh, that'd be nasty. Wait, but without any upgrades, they're not as bad. No,
actually, no. Death Troopers, because they are insanely tough to kill.
Well,
I guess you know what? You're right. You're right.
They wouldn't be suppressive. They wouldn't have range 4. They wouldn't have that heavy weapon.
Nice.
There would only be four of them too. So and they'd still be over 100 points. So you're like, oh, maybe it's not that.
Yeah, it's not that worth it.
Yeah. But I'm okay with there being units that are more or options for the game that are lean more towards fun and aren't necessarily designed for you to win worlds. Yeah.
No, I got to get it. You're right. I'm thinking it's very tournament like where it's.
But the problem is a unit like that. It could involve some future proofing problems. Yeah. So you could even have this one pip command card that's called theft or whatever. Link it to a specific page in the rules reference. Like maybe only certain units are eligible to be stolen, and you might like if it becomes a problem. It might be. And granted, now you're really cluttering up the rules. It might be easier to include a list of units that are not eligible to be stolen. Like no unique things, like no commanders. You can't steal Darth Vader, right? Yeah. And maybe the tank is because it has transport, it would be too good. Yeah. Maybe it would be. Maybe putting Wookiees in there and then having them disembark, that might be a little bit. But then again, that could be a great way to get Wookiees relevant again. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. If the opportunity cost is right. So.
Yeah. So. Along with the whole reason, we're kind of talking because ATSD kind of got stolen in Return of the Jedi because Chewbacca teamed up with certain small furry little guys.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You remember that?
I don't remember. Were they? Wait. You talking about the Gungans?
Oh no! These are the smaller cousins of the Gungans.
Of course, and we saved the best for last because of course the Ewoks. Everybody wants to talk about Ewoks because I think we've talked about Ewoks before. Yeah, we certainly have.
With the I'm
with the captain from the 82nd Legion, I think he was a big fan of the Ewoks. But yeah, and so I think they'd be a lot of fun. There's a lot of
they're relatively fleshed out too because you can think about it. You have your melee, you have your core unit with the spears, you have a core unit with the bows, you have special forces as the gliders, and you have cheap
introduces booby traps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There is legit gameplay for Ewoks,
and they can eat their own commander if he's made of flesh and blood if they want.
I really think I would hope they go into that. You can't really call it cannibalism if it's not for your own species, but
I guess it's not cannibalism. Yeah, if you're eating just because you're eating a human doesn't make a cannibal.
Exactly.
If you're not human, then
exactly you can't.
So if you wanted to eat people, then I guess you'd have to get some cybernetic implants. You're like, I am no human. I am a cyborg.
What's the ratio of cyborg to human do you have to be to not be a cannibal? Is that
I think you
We're
need.
gonna go
I don't
with
think
this.
it's a full 50%. I don't think you need 51% cyborg. I think you
I
can
think
get
it
away
needs,
with.
I think it needs like 65.
You think you need 65% cybernetic
Yes.
implants? But
To
then you
be-
wouldn't need food, and then you'd eat less. Then one human would sustain you for years.
Well, technically, think of this: all 4 limbs.
What
That's
is this
like
podcast about? We're talking about cannibalism. This is our wildest episode yet. If somebody like was just tuning in at this point and just jumped to this point, they're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
wow, the blood of the innocents must flow down my robotic gullet.
blood for the blood god.
Feed me with your innocence. Yes. Well, that's a really interesting place to kind of wrap things up, man.
Oh yeah, but no, Ewoks. I think would be. I think they would be a large unit count, low defense unit.
Yeah.
Like I think like 10 guys in a unit, like droid-esque.
Yeah. And the glider would be fun.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I like the idea of the glider.
So, if you were to do them, would you actually make like plastic tree logs and things like that, or would you just make it a command card?
I'd make a command card. Yeah.
Yeah. Be cool.
Yeah, that would make the most sense, and it wouldn't even be tree specific trap. It would be natural trap, and of course the art would be of the trees, but you'd be improvising because if you're on Geonosis, then it's a rock based trap. If you're on
Felucia, it's mushroom based.
if you're on Tatooine, then it's a sand, like quicksand.
Oh, they're really cool. I'm like, yeah, it's a sand.
It's quicksand. There you go. Yeah,
makes sense.
Or a sarlacc, you know, or something like that. Yeah. Well, they have rocks on Tatooine. There's like the dune.
Yeah, they do.
The Jundland Wastes are not to be traveled lightly.
True. That's a pretty cool area.
Even though I'm talking in the Russian accent right now. Hello, I'm Obi-Wan Knobovich. I am here to take you down to the Gulag. All right. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, so I also want more card expansions. We talked about like wanting more card expansions, but like last thing I want to talk about is like I really want like the way they did the card expansion, like which I think is still like sold out everywhere. Like
I don't have like so right now. I'm like Legion stuff. I haven't been able to get much at all. I mean, with like the COVID-19, all that stuff. Like I've yet to get my phase 2s. I do not have my Cassian and or Vital Assets.
Those are on Amazon right now, for crying out loud. Versio is on Amazon, like Amazon Prime. You can have it tomorrow. Like I don't know why anybody would want to pre-order from Asmodee or FantasyFlight.com at all anymore.
I might actually cancel now because I didn't realize that.
I am not going to cancel mine simply for the fact of for journalistic integrity. Like I want to be able to be like, oh, hey, guess what, guys? They're now actually shipping. You know,
that's
like,
okay. That's good.
This way, I'm still but the problem there is now I'm going to be the last one. Now, from a certain point of view, I could order one from Amazon also just so I can do that. But I'm not. The only reason I think I would do that is if I was going to be the first one, like if nobody had seen it yet, and you know, like then hey, I can bring people breaking news. But every YouTube channel in the world besides mine right now is already done some kind of unboxing of this stuff. So I'm like, oh well, I'll be last.
I pre-ordered Cassian back in like December too. Like and then Vital Assets was in like March. So
what do they say in Talladega Nights? If you ain't first, you're last. Shake and bake.
Oh man,
yeah.
I had to watch that movie 5 times before I loved it.
Really?
Love it. Well, it was the only movie they were playing in Afghanistan for like 2 weeks.
Oh man.
So like I watched it, like, oh, this is real fun. Like first I was like, I don't like this, but they're like, oh man, this is real.
It was. Yeah, some of those some movies are so stupidly funny that they end up growing on you.
Exactly.
You know what? The one for me that really grew on me the most, and I hated it at first. Zoolander.
I cannot stand Zoolander, so I you know what? There has to be that.
It might grow on you if you watch it about 6 or 7 dozen times. You might love it, man, because like I thought it was so stupid. It was over the top stupid that it became quotable for me, and so like I ended up really liking Zoolander. So like,
I guess it's my Talladega Nights.
Yeah, I liked Talladega, but I was a big fan of Will Ferrell from the beginning. I know, what can you do? All right, so yeah, last thing I want to talk about actually, in addition to wanting card expansions and stuff, and I hope they do more cards. I would actually hope they also do like random new command cards. Like, hey, here's a new 3-pip for Luke, a new 2-pip for Chewie, a new 1-pip for Han, or whatever. Just
actually, I was thinking that earlier when you mentioned like Mon Mothma and Akbar and all this stuff. Like hey, if they a command pack that says gives you everyone new command cards, that adds variety.
It would add a ton, and that's one of the big things you pay for when you're paying for a commander or an operative is those cards. And some of the cards that have become like less cool than we used to think, like command card values have changed over time. Leia's 2-pip, the one that gives everybody a move,
that's still really strong.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, but I think it's gotten better.
You're right. Actually, it wasn't as good in the beginning.
Right.
And now it's amazing.
And so,
you're right.
But some cards that we thought were amazing, have, like I think Veers' 1-pip, might have been really good at the beginning when everybody was running like ATRTs, and that could like, that could bring an ATRT almost down. Like, oh yeah, because you had one in the core set, so of course you were running ATRTs. Like that one kind of got weaker over time, and maybe it's time for Veers to get a different version of a 1-pip. Maybe.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
don't change it, because it could be great again, but maybe Veers players would like some new options. Because look, Luke and Vader got the benefit of having 6 command cards now. Maybe
they're good.
Maybe somebody wants to run Palpatine without him going Death Blossom. So maybe Palpatine wants an alternate 1-pip. One of the things that was great about Return of the Jedi is you had this epic duel at the end. What if Palpatine could force 2 characters to fight, like he does in the movie? Wouldn't that be a cool 1-pip option for Palpatine?
That absolutely would. Yeah, you know what? There we go. I didn't even think about that.
And he gets to convert the winner. Like, what if, wouldn't it be cool? It might be over the top, but we do this in Rebellion all the time, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
Or we try to. I certainly try to.
You tried to.
I tried to, and it worked like once, I think. Or did you convert Chewbacca to the dark side?
No, you converted Chewbacca. Okay. You did convert Chewbacca.
Did you convert Leia?
I converted Leia.
Oh, that's so hot. A dark side Leia. Could you imagine how hot Carrie Fisher would have looked like with all dark side goth kind of makeup as a Sith mistress in 1983?
Yeah.
I mean,
she was a looker, man.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna go ahead and do it for this episode.
That's a good note to end off on.
Yeah. Well, I love Carrie, so she was always amazing, and she'll always have a place in my heart. All right, getting all sappy. All right, well, I think that's going to do it. Be sure to check out Sean's Instagram and Sean's YouTube channel, and I'm going to have links.
YouTube, but yeah,
well, a lot of people probably haven't seen you did a clone trooper painting video that was really cool, and you've done a lot more of the 40K painting and assembly videos.
Yes, yeah, with the Agency Mine and all that as well, yeah.
And but your Instagram, you have you post the photos up there. So if you just want to see the finished product too, definitely check out the Instagram. I'm not really on Instagram. I think I have an account, but I haven't logged into it in years, so I don't even know.
But the only reason I did was because of painting. Like it's just like, oh wait, hey, everyone else is doing it.
I may eventually. I run enough social media channels that I feel like I'm almost exhausted now. So I'm like, maybe if I ever do this full time, then that'll be a thing. But that's going to do it. Also, check out the Patreon, and there's links for all of that stuff, as well as merchandise if you're interested in any of the double critical shirts or face masks. We also have a red and black one. Like this one's blue and black, and there's a red and black one as well that are out there. And those are
in cold fronts. Those hoodies are real nice.
These, yeah, man, I love these. Like I had a brown one when I was in the Army, and I loved it because you can pull it up over your head partially, and also if you're like wearing helmets, like if you're wearing a stormtrooper helmet or whatever, like this you can pull it over and kind of protect your head a little bit. And
that's true. We use it for that as well.
Good if you're running in wintertime too, and you've got your little earbuds in. It'll hold your earbuds in and also keep the wind out of your ears. Just great stuff. Great stuff. All right, well that's all I've got. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day. Have a double critical day.
See you guys.